My brother always said I had bad energy. That was his excuse anyway. Bad energy. Like I was some kind of storm cloud he needed to keep away from his sunshine. So when the invitation for his grand opening never came, I wasn't surprised. I was just done. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I was watching his big night from the 42nd floor of the Four Seasons in Chicago. Room service. A bottle of Screaming Eagle Cabernet that cost more than my brother's first car. And a live stream of his restaurant collapsing in real time on my laptop while I signed a 7-figure contract. My name is Maya. I am 31 years old. And tonight, the family that spent a decade telling me I would never amount to anything is blowing up my phone with 83 missed calls. Let me pour myself another glass and tell you exactly how we got here. Before you watch the show, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. And if you have ever been the one they left out, who ended up holding all the cards, hit subscribe. This one is for you. The thing about Chicago in October is that the wind doesn't ask permission. It cuts right through you. But up here, behind floor-to-ceiling glass with the city spread out like a circuit board, none of that matters. My boyfriend Marcus is on the other side of the suite reviewing contracts. He is a real estate attorney, with the kind of calm that only comes from never having anything to prove to anyone. He brought a blazer and 3 pairs of reading glasses on this trip. He did not bring drama. He never does. The laptop on the coffee table in front of me is propped open to my brother's Instagram Live. He started it 20 minutes ago with all the confidence of a man who has never once considered that things could go wrong. The camera panned across the dining room of Ember, his new steakhouse in Atlanta. White tablecloths, low amber lighting. A hostess in a fitted black dress greeting guests who looked like they had been told tonight was the most important night of their lives. It was supposed to be. I take a sip of wine and zoom in on the comments section. People are already arriving. His fiancée, a woman named Brittany, is floating through the room in a red dress that she definitely told people was custom. Her mother is stationed near the bar, holding a glass of champagne and surveying the room like a general assessing a battlefield she fully expects to win. And then there is my mother. She is seated at a round table near the window. She is wearing the pearl earrings she only takes out for occasions she considers worthy of them. She is laughing at something Brittany's father said, her hand resting on his arm in that practiced way she has of making powerful people feel like her oldest friends. She looks happy, the kind of happy that requires an audience. I look at my phone. 83 missed calls, not a single one from before tonight began. My phone buzzes. It is a text from my childhood friend who still lives in Atlanta and apparently went to the opening. She has sent me a photo of a menu. At the bottom, where the chef credits usually go, I see my brother's name, executive chef and owner. Below that, in smaller italic font, a dedication. To my mother, who believed in this dream. To Brittany, who stood beside me every step. To everyone who showed up. I set the phone face down on the glass table. 2 months ago, I offered to come to the soft opening. Just a quiet preview, family only. I wanted to see what he had built. My brother had looked at me across the kitchen table at our mother's house and said, and I remember this exactly, that Brittany felt my energy was off, that I had a habit of making things about myself, that this was his moment, and he needed people around him who understood that. My mother nodded along like he was reading scripture. I drove home that evening and did not say a single word about what I actually knew, about what I had spent the last 14 months quietly putting together. I just nodded and said I understood, and I did understand. I understood more than he could imagine. Back on the screen, the dining room looks full. Every table is occupied. The kitchen doors are swinging. Servers are moving. For the first 20 minutes, the opening looks exactly like what my brother told everyone it would be. A triumph. Then the kitchen doors stop swinging. It is subtle at first. A server comes out with 1 plate and stands near a table looking lost. Another server follows her, also with just 1 plate. A couple near the window flags down the hostess. The hostess smiles, that professional smile that means nothing is fine but I have been trained to look like it is. Marcus walks over from the desk, holding his reading glasses in one hand and a water glass in the other. He looks at the screen for a moment. Then he sits down beside me. Something is wrong with the kitchen, he says. He is not asking. Watch, I say. The kitchen doors burst open. Not a server this time. My brother himself. He is wearing his chef's coat, but his face is the wrong color. He is pale in the way people get when their blood has decided to be somewhere else entirely. He crosses the dining room in 8 steps and disappears through the front vestibule. Through the glass wall of the restaurant, the live stream catches him standing on the sidewalk with his phone pressed to his ear. His free hand is pressed flat against the top of his head. He is not making a call. He is receiving one. And whatever he is hearing is making his knees want to give up. My mother sees him through the window. She excuses herself from Brittany's father. She crosses the room with that practiced grace she learned from watching old movies about women who never let anyone see them sweat. She goes to stand beside him on the sidewalk. She puts a hand on his arm. He shows her the phone screen. She reads whatever is on it. Her face does the same thing his face did. It goes very still and then very wrong. I pour a second glass of wine. "What happened?" Marcus asks. Is not a question either. I reach over to the laptop and pull up an email I have had sitting in my drafts for 2 weeks. I turn the screen so he can read the subject line. He looks at it. Then he looks at me. Then he looks back at the live stream. "You knew this was going to happen tonight," he says. "I knew it was coming," I say. "I didn't know it would be this public." He is quiet for a moment. The kind of quiet that means he is deciding whether to ask the next question. He decides to ask it. "How long have you known about the building?" "Since before the lease was signed," I say. "Let me explain the building. 14 months ago, my brother called me from a parking lot outside a commercial real estate office in Atlanta. He was giddy in the way he used to get as a kid on Christmas morning. He had found the location, the perfect spot for the restaurant he had been planning since culinary school. Ground floor of a mixed-use development in Midtown. The kind of foot traffic that made investors lean forward in their chairs. There was just one problem. The asking price for the lease required a cosigner with significant assets. My brother did not have significant assets. He had a culinary degree, 6 years of kitchen experience, and a mother who told him every single day that he was destined for greatness, which is lovely but does not satisfy a commercial landlord. He called our mother. Our mother called her contacts. And somewhere in that chain of calls, someone reached out to the development company that held the lease on the building. That company is called Birchwood Properties. I am the sole owner of Birchwood Properties. I did not tell anyone. Not my mother. Not my brother. Not Brittany, who had been sending me pointed texts for months about how family means showing up for each other, which was a curious thing to say to someone who was not invited to the soft opening. I approved the lease application. I set the terms. I gave him a rate that was generous by market standards because whatever he had done to me, I did not want to see him fail. I wanted him to succeed without my help, or more accurately, without knowing he had my help. But I also knew what my brother was like when it came to money, and I knew what my mother was like when it came to covering for him. So I had Marcus build a specific clause into the lease, a monthly financial health disclosure, proof of revenue, operating costs, and outstanding debt submitted to the management office on the 1st of every month. For 11 months, the disclosures came in on time. Then they started coming in late. Then they started coming in with numbers that did not add up. Then in September, one did not come at all. Marcus found the problem 3 weeks ago. My brother had taken a silent investor, someone who had put money into the restaurant under a verbal agreement for 20% of profits. No contract, no documentation, just a handshake and a promise from a man who, it turned out, had been making handshake promises all over Atlanta and collecting on them with a team of very serious people who did not accept verbal renegotiations. The investor had called in his stake. My brother did not have the cash. He had spent the investor's money on the build-out, on the kitchen equipment, on the custom chef's coats with the embroidered logo that Brittany had insisted on. He had spent it on the furniture and the amber lighting and the hostess in the fitted black dress. He had nothing left. And now it was opening night, and the man he owed money to had apparently decided that a public setting was a very effective place to make a point. Back on the live stream, my brother comes back inside. His chef's coat is still pristine. His face is not. He walks to the bar and says something quietly to the bartender. The bartender picks up the phone. My mother follows my brother to a corner near the coat check and they talk with their heads close together, her hand gripping his forearm. Brittany spots them. She floats over in her red dress and joins the huddle. Whatever my brother tells her makes her take 2 steps backward. Then she looks toward the kitchen. The kitchen doors are not swinging. Let me tell you what my brother's opening night was supposed to look like. He had hired a private chef for the evening. Not himself. The conceit was that the executive chef and owner would spend opening night among the guests, floating from table to table, accepting compliments, being photographed for the lifestyle magazine that was supposedly doing a feature. The kitchen was meant to run itself under the sous chef he had hired from a hotel downtown. What he had not told anyone, including the sous chef, was that the restaurant's operating account was effectively frozen. The payment processor he used for the kitchen supply deliveries had flagged 3 consecutive declined transactions and placed a hold. The fresh proteins that were supposed to arrive that afternoon, the wagyu, the heritage pork, the wild-caught bass that was headlining the menu, were sitting in a refrigerated truck in the alley behind the building. The driver had been instructed not to open the truck until the invoice cleared. The invoice had not cleared. My brother's restaurant was full of paying guests and had approximately 40 pounds of arugula, 2 cases of bread rolls, and a wheel of cheese in the walk-in. On the livestream, a server approaches a table near the camera. She leans down. She says something. The man at the table frowns. He says something back. She says something again, and he sits up straighter and says it louder. Loud enough for the camera to pick up. What do you mean the kitchen is delayed? The word delayed moves through the room like a current. Heads turn. Servers are having quiet versions of the same conversation at other tables. The hostess near the front is back on her professional smile, but her eyes are doing something different entirely. Brittany walks to the center of the room. She does this thing she does at parties where she lifts her chin and opens her posture and prepares to command a room. I have seen her do it at my mother's birthday dinner 2 years ago when the caterer was late. She had handled that with impressive authority. This is not that. She taps a water glass with a butter knife and smiles at the room with every tooth she has. Thank you all so much for being here tonight, she says, and her voice is the right volume but slightly the wrong pitch. We are just experiencing a small delay with the kitchen. We apologize for the inconvenience. Drinks are on the house while we get things moving. There is a polite smattering of applause from guests who are still giving the benefit of the doubt. The bartender starts pouring. People settle back into their conversations. The immediate panic decompresses. My phone vibrates. It is my mother. I look at the screen. I look at Marcus. He raises his eyebrow 1/2 inch, which for him is the equivalent of a full dramatic gesture. I answer. Her voice is not the one I grew up hearing at the dinner table or in church pews. It is a voice I have heard exactly 3 times in my life, each time at moments when reality crashed through whatever wall she had been building to keep it out. Maya, she says, I need you to listen to me carefully. I am listening, I say. There is a situation at the restaurant, a cash flow problem. It is temporary. Your brother is working on it, but there is a timeline issue, and things are moving faster than we expected. She pauses. I need you to wire $15,000 to his business account tonight. I sit with that for a moment. $15,000. Tonight. On opening night. The night I was not invited to. Mom, I say, I wasn't at the opening. I am in Chicago. I know where you are, Maya. She says it the way she always says things she considers irrelevant. It does not matter where you are. It matters what you can do. This is your brother's dream. This is everything we have worked toward as a family. This is not the time for you to decide you have a grudge to nurse. I want to ask her which family she is referring to. The one that sends invitations to everyone except me. The one where my brother's fiancé gets a seat at every table and I get a text explaining that my energy is off. Instead I say, Mom, what happened to Dad's money? Silence. Not the silence of someone thinking. The silence of someone who was hoping I would never ask. My father passed 4 years ago. He was not a wealthy man, but he was a careful one. He had a life insurance policy and a small retirement fund, and he left both to be split equally between me and my brother. My mother was the executor. I received my portion 11 months after he passed. A check for $42,000 that I put directly into the seed fund for Birchwood Properties. My brother's portion was supposed to be the same. When I asked him about it a year later, he told me he had put it toward the restaurant. I assumed that meant his share of the estate. I am asking now because the number my mother just said, $15,000, is oddly specific. And my brother's numbers have not been adding up for months. What happened to Dad's life insurance, Mom? Her silence has a texture to it now, dense and uncomfortable. It went toward the restaurant, she says finally. It was the right thing to do. Your brother had a vision and he needed capital to make it real. Your father would have wanted to support that. Both shares, I say. She does not answer immediately. That is my answer. Both shares of the inheritance, my father's money for both of his children, went into a restaurant that I was not invited to see open. My portion, without my knowledge or consent, my inheritance, redirected by my mother to fund a dream that did not include me in its dedication. Maya, she says, it was an investment. When the restaurant succeeds, you will be paid back with interest. Your brother is going to be successful. He just needs tonight to go smoothly. So please, wire the money and we can discuss the details later. I look at the laptop screen. The bartender is running out of top-shelf liquor. A woman at a table near the window has opened a menu and is studying it with the expression of someone trying to understand why there is nothing to order. Mom, I say, I am not going to wire the money. Maya, I am going to let you watch what happens next, I say. And then I am going to tell you something you should have known a long time ago. I hang up. Marcus has not moved. He is watching me with the expression he uses in depositions, carefully neutral and fully present. The estate money, he says quietly. You didn't know it was both shares. No, I say. He nods once. I look back at the screen. Brittany's free drink strategy has bought approximately 15 minutes of goodwill. But 15 minutes of goodwill runs out. And when it does, the room starts to turn. The couple near the window call the hostess over again. This time, the woman's voice is loud enough for the camera. I don't see anything coming from the kitchen. What exactly is the delay? Is the chef even here? My brother appears from somewhere near the bar. He is still in the chef's coat, but he has loosened the collar. He tries to do what Brittany did, putting on the smile and the posture and the confidence, but the room has already shifted. They are not giving him the benefit anymore. They came for a meal. They are getting excuses and warm Pinot Grigio. A man near the back stands up. He is large and well-dressed and has the particular impatience of someone who did not come to this restaurant to be managed. He walks to my brother and speaks to him in a low voice. My brother responds. The man shakes his head. He makes a gesture with his hand that means this is finished, turns, and walks toward the coat check. 3 other people at his table stand up and follow him. The departure triggers something. It almost always does. Once one table leaves, the permission is given. 2 more couples near the entrance look at each other, look at the kitchen, look at their phones. One of the women opens an app and starts looking for somewhere else to eat. They put on their coats. Brittany sees the coats going on. Her composure finally does what composure does when it runs out. It does not crack slowly, it drops all at once. She marches to my brother and grabs his arm and hisses something into his ear that the camera does not catch, but her face communicates completely. He pulls his arm away. It is one sharp motion, the kind that says, I know and I cannot fix it and I need you to stop touching me right now. She takes a step back. For the first time tonight, Brittany looks young. She looks like a woman in a red dress who had a very specific idea of what this night was supposed to be and is watching it be replaced by something she does not have the vocabulary for. My mother steps in. She puts herself between them. She says something to my brother. He runs a hand over his face. He nods at whatever she said. And then he does something that surprises even me. He goes back to the center of the room. He does not tap a glass. He just stands there until enough people look at him. His voice is quieter than Brittany's was. There is no performance left in it. I owe you all an honest explanation, he says. The room gets still. We are having a financial issue tonight. A supplier hold. I cannot get the kitchen moving without resolving it, and I do not have the cash on hand to resolve it right now. I know that is not what you expected. I know this is not the opening you came for. I am sorry. There is a long beat of silence. Then someone starts slow clapping. Not in a mocking way. Just one person in the back acknowledging that at least he told the truth. A few others follow. It does not save the night, but it changes the temperature of the room from hostile to something closer to disappointed. He turns and walks back into the kitchen. I pick up my phone and open a different app. The property management portal for Birchwood Properties. I navigate to my brother's lease file. His account shows 37 days past due on the operating transparency disclosure. It shows one missed payment from last month. It shows the notice I had Marcus draft 2 weeks ago, sent but unacknowledged. I navigate to a different screen. Draft notices. Outstanding action items. One at the top of the list. I have not sent it yet. I have been waiting for the right moment because I believe in precision. Sending it before tonight would have felt like cruelty. Sending it after tonight feels like justice. I tap send. Marcus's phone buzzes on the desk across the room. He looks at it. He looks at me. That is the formal disclosure notice, he says. They have 48 hours to respond, I say. He nods and picks up his reading glasses. I look back at the laptop. The live stream is still running. Someone in the dining room has apparently decided that since there is no food coming, they might as well document the atmosphere, which is now a very expensive-looking room with wilting centerpieces and a lot of confused people in good clothing. My brother comes back out of the kitchen. He is on his phone. He is standing near the reservation desk, turned slightly away from the room, his voice low and quick. He is calling someone to ask for money. I can see it in the angle of his shoulders, in the way his free hand keeps opening and closing at his side. Then my phone rings again. Not my mother this time. My brother. I answer. Maya. His voice is different from my mother's. It is not the practiced tone of a woman who has been managing outcomes her whole life. It is just tired. Genuinely, flatly tired. Hey, I don't know if Mom called you. She did, I say. He exhales. Then he says the thing I have been waiting a long time to hear. I know I should have invited you tonight. I know that was wrong. Brittany and we had a lot of disagreements leading up to this, and I let her make a call that I should have overridden. That was on me. I'm not asking you to forgive that right now. I'm just telling you so you know I know. I don't say anything. I let him keep going. I need help, he says. I need $15,000 wired tonight to clear the supplier hold. I have investors calling me. I have a room full of guests who drove here. I have a sous chef standing in an empty kitchen. If you can help me tonight, I promise you, I will pay you back. I will put it in writing. Whatever you need. I am asking you as your brother. I look at the Chicago skyline through the glass. The lights look like someone scattered them from a great height and they landed exactly where they were supposed to. I know about Dad's money, I say. The silence on his end is a different shape than our mother's silence. Less defensive. More like the sound a person makes when they have been carrying something heavy and someone finally sees it. She told you, he says. She told me tonight, I say. When she asked for the 15,000, he makes a sound that is not quite a laugh and not quite anything else. How much did she tell you? All of it, I say. Both shares. Another long exhale. He does not apologize. He does not defend himself. He just says, yeah. I want to ask him if he knew. If he knew it was both shares, if he spent 4 years knowing my portion of my father's estate was sitting inside the walls of his restaurant and chose not to tell me. But I realize I am not ready for that answer tonight. Some answers need to land on solid ground, and tonight the ground is still moving. Instead, I say, I am going to tell you something now, and I need you to listen the way you listened just now, not the way you usually listen. Okay, he says. The building your restaurant is in, I say. Ember. The lease you signed 14 months ago through Birchwood Properties. He waits. I own Birchwood Properties. The silence that follows is so complete that I check to make sure the call is still connected. It is. What? He says. Not angry, not disbelieving, just hollow. I have owned the building since before you signed the lease, I say. I approved your application. I set the rate. I built in the disclosure clause specifically because I knew you and I wanted to protect the asset. I have been your landlord for 14 months, and you have never known it. Maya, I sent you a formal default notice tonight, I say. 48 hours to respond. That is not me trying to hurt you. That is me following the contract that you signed. But I want you to know something else. He is not speaking. He is just present on the line. I was going to let the restaurant succeed, I say. I was never going to tell you I owned the building. I was going to watch you build something real without knowing I was under the floorboards, keeping the foundation solid. That was the plan. I wanted you to win without me. But you took Dad's money, both shares. And you did not invite me to tonight. And I have been standing in the background of this family's story for 31 years waiting for someone to write me into the page. Marcus has put down his reading glasses. He is watching me. I am not taking the building, I say. I am not ending your lease, but you are going to pay back every dollar of my inheritance with market rate interest. You are going to put that in writing tomorrow. And the next time Brittany tells you my energy is off, I need you to remember that the woman she was talking about owns the room you are standing in. He is quiet for a long time. Then he says, I didn't know she said that to you. I know you didn't, I say. That is part of the problem. I stay quiet after that, not angry, not triumphant, just waiting. He says, I don't have the 15,000. I know, I say. I am going to wire you 8,000 tonight to clear the supplier hold and get your kitchen moving. Not because you asked, because Dad would have wanted you to finish what you started. The remaining balance of my inheritance, we settle in 30 days. Terms from Marcus's office in writing by Monday. He says my name. Just my name, nothing attached to it. The way he said it when we were kids and he needed something from me that he did not have words for. Clean up the room, I say. Feed your guests. And call your investor and tell him you are getting a real attorney. I know someone. I end the call. I open the wire transfer app. I type in the amount. I authorize it. 40 seconds later, Marcus's phone gets the notification. He looks at me. You wired it already. He is going to need it in the next 10 minutes or the kitchen closes, I say. He picks up his reading glasses. Sometimes you are astonishing, he says, and opens his laptop like it is a perfectly ordinary thing to say on an ordinary Thursday. On the laptop screen, my brother comes back out of the kitchen. He goes to the reservation desk and picks up the house phone. He makes one call. 2 minutes later, a server comes out of the kitchen doors carrying a bread basket, then another, then a third. The kitchen is moving. The room exhales. My mother, still at her table near the window, pulls out her phone. She reads something on the screen. She looks around the room. She is trying to figure out what changed. She looks at the kitchen doors swinging. She looks at her son, who has a different posture now, less the man standing on a ledge and more the man who just decided not to jump. She does not look relieved. She looks confused, which for my mother is more uncomfortable than panic. She cannot see the hand behind the curtain. She is used to being the hand. I close the laptop. 3 months have passed since that night in Chicago. I am sitting on the back porch of a house I bought in Nashville last year. It is a craftsman bungalow with a porch that wraps around 2 sides, and in the morning when the light comes through the oak trees, it looks like something you would find on a postcard. It is mine. Completely. No outstanding balance. No silent investors. No inheritance that belongs to someone else. Marcus is inside making coffee. I can hear the specific sound of the grinder he spent 2 weeks researching before he bought it. He does everything with that level of care. It is one of the reasons I trusted him with the business before I trusted him with anything else. My phone is on the table beside me. This morning there is a text from my brother, not asking for anything. Just a photo of the restaurant on a Thursday night, tables full, kitchen running, his sous chef standing in the frame beside him, holding a plate up for the camera like they have just invented something. The caption says simply, Month 3, thank you. I look at it for a moment. Then I save it to my camera roll. There is also a voicemail from my mother. The 3rd this week. She has been calling more since she found out about Birchwood. She is not angry in the messages. She is something harder to navigate than angry. She is trying to figure out how to redistribute the map of our family now that the territory has changed. She keeps using the word proud, which is a word I have waited a long time to hear from her. It lands differently than I expected it to, not like warm sunlight, but like a light that has finally been switched on in a room I already furnished in the dark. I do not call her back the same day. I let a day pass. I let her sit with the space between us that she created, not because I want her to suffer, but because I have learned that the distance between people is sometimes the only honest thing left between them. You cannot pretend it is not there. You can only decide what to build across it. The repayment agreement is set up through Marcus's firm. Monthly transfers from my brother's operating account to a Birchwood ledger item called Estate Resolution. He has never missed one. He will not miss one. Not because of the contract, though the contract is real, because he is my brother, and underneath everything that got in the way, he knows what it cost my father to leave that money behind. I got a call last month from a woman at the lifestyle magazine that was supposed to cover the opening night. She had heard the story, the real one, the version that circulates in Atlanta's food community about the opening that almost wasn't. She wanted to write a different piece, not about the opening night, about month 3, about the restaurant that rebuilt itself, about the family behind it. She asked if I would be part of the story. I said I would have to think about it. I am still thinking. The thing about being the one they left out is that when you finally come in from the cold, you have to decide what warmth you actually want. Not the warmth of being included, not the warmth of being necessary, the particular warmth of being seen, truly seen, as a person, and not a resource. That kind of warmth is rarer, it takes longer, and it does not arrive on the night of someone else's grand opening. It arrives on a Tuesday morning when you are drinking coffee on your own porch in a house you built with your own hands and your own patience, and the $42,000 your father trusted you to carry forward. Marcus comes out with 2 mugs. He sits down beside me without saying anything. He hands me the coffee. The oak trees are doing something beautiful in the early light. People always say success is the best revenge. I understand why they say it. I said it too, for years, when I needed something to hold on to. But sitting here, I do not feel like I am revenging anything. I feel like I am just living, fully, loudly, in a direction that has nothing to do with proving anyone wrong. The revenge, if it exists at all, is not something I am doing to them. It is simply what my life looks like when they are not the center of it. And that, I have learned, is the only kind worth having. If you have ever been written out of someone else's story and had to go build your own, I want to hear from you. Leave it in the comments, hit subscribe. And remember, the ones who left you out of the invitation list very often end up needing the key you are holding. The question is not whether you will answer the door. The question is who you will be when you do.